This evening, I'd like to call upon Mr. Anshuman Paul, First American Vice President Executive Director, to speak on the topic of using data analytics in the title insurance domain to detect fraud in property transaction. Anshuman Paul. Anshuman Paul is the Vice President and Executive Director at First American India, one of the largest title insurance and settlement company headquartered in California, US. In his role at First American, he works with First American's global offices spread across US, Canada, UK, and Australia. He is with FAI for the last 14 years and heads their software services business and has more than 2 decades of experience in IT space, primarily around software architecture, product design, and leadership role. For the last few years, he has been focusing on reimagining First American's business processes with the help of upcoming technologies, and as he describes it, involved in cool stuff like robotics, like robotic process automation, machine learning, artificial intelligence, and predictive analytics. Mr. Anshuman Paul.
Good afternoon, everyone. And thanks, Rajiv. Put me third on the line so that everyone is awake now. Before I talk about what we are doing in data science, how we are using the data science, I am from the user community. I think most of the speakers before me, they are either practitioners of data science or they are in the consulting business. So the first thing which I get every time when I say I work for First American, the joke goes like this, that people say, did Columbus ever work for you? That you are calling your company as First American? And I say, yeah, we did offer him, he didn't join on the last day. So probably people from Bangalore and Hyderabad can relate to that. So First American is a title insurance company. And before we get into that, probably we will have a little bit of interaction, and I promise I'll complete it within 10, 12 minutes. So if everyone can raise their right hand. Okay, there are a few who are still sleeping. So my question is, before we go to the slides, we work on property transaction. That's our focus. How many of you hold or own a property in India? Can you raise your hand? That's why we did that exercise. IT people, okay. How many of you believe, or during the property transaction, and if you own, what you did is you had a transaction, signed a deed, the property transferred from the seller to the buyer. Now you are the owner. And what did you do? You went ahead in sub-registrar office. That's what we call in Bangalore. I don't know what's here. We go there, we register the property, and you are relieved, right? That the property is yours. Now you are owner of the property. Yeah, can you hear me now? But what if I tell you that during the session from morning till now you are sitting here and the property changed hand, your property changed hand? Is it possible? It's absolutely possible. The fraud happens that way. So what we do, although which I am talking about is the future, but actually the title insurance product, which a lot of people ask me what it is giving an insurance to the person who is buying the property or the lender who is lending the money to buy the property. We provide the insurance on the title of the property so that the person who is selling, we say it's clear, the property is clear. And in future, if any claim comes on that property, we will, on behalf of you, will fight the case, and if we lose, we will reimburse the entire amount. That's what we do. Our main customers are lenders who lends money to the buyer And we also do property insurance with the buyers who are interested parties. Which one? Try once. Oh, okay. So, like I said, we are a leading title insurance and settlement company. We do the escrow also, and formed in 1989. That's where the problem is, because we deal with the past, and we deal with a lot of data in the past, which is not digitized. So, if you see the scanning, so we have all scanned documents today, and we hold around 6 billion documents of property transaction in US. But although it's in image format today, for last 30 years we are scanning all those documents, but the quality of the scan is although improving, but because of our product we need to go back with the old documents. Before the scanners were there, what county offices we say, or the recording offices, or the sub-register office we say, which is in India, the way they used to do it in US is capture a photograph of those documents and build microfiche out of it. So we, in our Hyderabad facility, has a huge real estate area where we have those microfiche, and we read from the microfiche. So that's the first challenge we have. And how is the title insurance different from normal any other insurance? So any other insurance is all future looking. You insure for an event which may happen in future, and if it happens, you will get a reimbursement of that. Title insurance is the only insurance which looks in the past. So if it looks in the past and the event has already happened, then we are probably at a good place where if we do our job well, we will never get a claim. That's the difference in characteristics of title insurance from any other insurance. Now to move on to the future, as a technology guy in the company, we asked for investment in all these new technologies to do a lot of R&D. Now the vision says, yes, we will invest in technology. What would be the output? Now having this problem of old data, which is in different format and completely unstructured, it is very difficult to apply data science on top of that data. However, when you hear about data science, probably people think it's the analytics. It's just not the analytics, it's the data how it lies today. Can we extract the data, transform the data, and make insight out of it? So if you see the vision of the company, it's invest, and then we have few more challenges. Like today, our processes takes around 30 to 60 days. The number of orders we process annually on an average is 1.2 million. 75% only converts to revenue. So there is a requirement where we can do it better through technology. And this, when we say converts to revenue, for most of the other companies is the sales. The sales guys goes, they have 10 leads, they convert probably 8 or 6. For us, all the 1.2 million orders what we got to process till the end, and then wait for 30 to 60 days to realize whether actually there is a sale or not. How it happens? When you go to a lender or a bank to ask for loan, he will do two things. He will take the details of the property and take details of yours. He will send your data to the credit companies to figure out how is your credit history. He will send the property data to us to figure out whether the property is clean or not. So what we do is we go back, do our processing, do our examination, and then tell the bank or the lender that the property is clean or not clean. To tell the bank that property is clean or not clean, we have to do the entire work. So if we have 20,000 people today, if you go with the math, we are 5,000 people who are working on that, the entire process. We really don't get realization of that revenue. Second, average time taken is 30 to 60 days, although is the entire time taken for a transaction, property transaction to happen in US. We probably take around 3 to 5 days to do the examination. The challenge there, so you may say that if you have 60 days to do your work, because the property transaction happening in 30 to 60 days, you have ample time to process. So what's the need of technology or data science? I think Rocket Mortgage is coming up in US, and what they say that with a click of 3, so 3 times you click and you get your loan approved. Now, if that's the case and it's coming up, because a lot of people who doesn't have a good credit history are trying out this method of getting mortgage loans. So what that means is if in 3 clicks they are approving the loan, then we got to also process at least in 1 or 2 clicks our examination. That cannot happen the way we do with human today. The other issue is we deal with completely unstructured data. Most of the analytics, what we see today is there is unstructured data, but it's kind of new data, which is like last 10 years, 15 years. And then there is a lot of structured data available. And then we also are working on solutions which are forward-looking. So we are working on solutions, or this community is working on solutions which are future-looking, where you have a handle on how to collect the data in future. We do not have that. And the idea is to reduce the risk on all these things while we are automating our stuff. These are the types of risk in title insurance. Ownership claims. Ownership, I sell a property to you, tomorrow the third person says, no, the property was not really that guy's, it's mine. So that's a problem. Fraudulent mortgage release. Not sure how true it is in India, but then in the US, you hardly buy a property with complete cash. 99% of the time, you go for a loan. And what mortgage release is that I have taken a 30 years loan, suddenly there is a recording in the sub-registrar office that somebody has paid the rest of the money and cleared the loan. It hardly happens. And after clearing the loan, they go ahead and sell the property in next 5 days or 10 days. Now, if that type of risk is there, that type of fraud is there, how do you figure it out? Now, like I said, we have around 5 to 6 billion property documents in our databases. We are looking at, can we run analytics on top of that and try to figure out a pattern the way the transaction happens, and then map back to our claims of last 5 to 10 years and see that those patterns correlates with the claims. If that is true, then probably going forward, we can have an early warning signal on the property which the bank has asked us to examine whether there is a risk or not. And the timing or the time what we take to examine today can be reduced considerably. So I will just talk about few of them. Judgment on vestings. So me and my wife has an interest in a property, so we are 50-50% owner. Now I am trying to sell a property,
to you, and then I am also fighting a divorce case or a separation case with my wife, right? Now, in between that, if I try to sell the property, 50% owner is my wife. How do I sell that property? So people goes ahead and take signature from their spouses in multiple documents and then try to sell the property, or at the same time parallelly a case is running in the court. So we got to also figure out if there is a judgment or a case going on that person. Sometimes I own 100%, and because I have a separation case going on, I may have to give away 50% interest in that property. Just before the case or after the case, I try to sell the property, which may come back and affect or there would be a defect in the title. Easement issues, which are normal. There is a gas pipeline going below the property. There is a water line going below the property. Nobody knows. It's like 30, 40 years before government has put in, and we got to figure that out from government or town planning offices. So these are kind of claims which comes in, or the fraud which happens on a property, and that's the reason we are looking at a early warning signal, if we can get. So this is something which I have already talked about. By identifying patterns across the property database, can we do that? Correlation between the pattern and historical claims data. But this, what I am talking about, is for the examination which we do today for the property. But if this works in future, you can also have an early warning system where, like, there is a credit card swipe happens and you get a message that did you do that this transaction or somebody else, you can call the bank. So while you are sitting here and attending this summit and someone is doing some fraudulent activity on your property, and if we can gather that data, process it, and send you a text message saying that run back and figure it out, somebody is fiddling around with your property, will you buy that product or not? Show of hand. Okay, not many. If I give it to you free, you will. So that is the product which we are looking at for future. But the problems are today, I will tell you what. The data is all imaged. Scanning, which we have done for last 30 years, not good enough. There is a lot of noise, and the data is completely unstructured. Means you might have seen the deeds, what we do. It depends on the attorney, the format he has prepared. There is nothing, a format which is for a county or a state or for the entire US. There is no particular format. And within the format, there is no tables structure where the data lies. It lies between the English paragraphs. So we are using extraction technologies, OCR, from last 20 years. We believe that OCR can give us around 80%. So currently we are working with a few partners to figure out, is there a fractal way or a neural way to figure out or extract the data? That's one. That's the basic problem we have. Once we extract the data, can we use cognitive technologies to figure out, or artificial intelligence to figure out what that paragraph of English sentence means? And if we can figure out that, can we get data value pair out of those English paragraphs? If we are able to do that, we will solve the problem of our current production team who actually examines, as well as coming up with new portfolio of products for the future, which I just talked about. That's all I had. Thank you.
I'd like to call upon Mr. Atul Agarwal, NASSCOM ERC, MD, Apathy Software, to hand over a memento. Mr. Agarwal to Mr. Anshuman Paul. Round of applause, please.